Studios, I'm Jared, and this is the BFIBs Almanac. We've got a series sweep, some milestone achievements, and a new place in the standings. There's a lot to get into, so let's dig in. Well, like I said, we finished off a sweep of the Brewers today on Wednesday, and we got to see Adam Wainwright get his 150th win, which is 5th in Cardinals history. There's only 4 pitchers ahead of him. They are Bill Sherdell with 153 wins, so Adam will likely overtake him soon. Bob Forsch with 163 wins. He actually could overtake him this year. Jesse Haynes with 210, and of course Bob Gibson with 251. So very cool to see Wainwright inching his way up that list. All right, let's recap a little bit. The Cardinals are now at 15-9. And the Brewers are 13-13. Who would have thought that the Brewers would be a 500 team at this point? So let's go back and look at these 3 wins. We had Monday's big blowout win, 13-5, and Jack Flaherty went 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 4 earned runs, only 1 walk to 10 strikeouts. Now, all of those hits were home runs, so that's not good, but very effective outing, a quality start, got those 6 innings pitched, and helping out the bullpen there. Game 2 was the Daniel Ponce de Leon kind of fill-in game. Got the call up that day. Pitched 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks to 7 strikeouts, and had the 1 home run. Now, he actually didn't get the win on the day. Andrew Miller got the win based on the score and when Daniel went out of the game, but Miller got the win with 2 strikeouts in his 1 inning pitched. And then, of course, today was Waino going, and we won 5-2. Wainwright went 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, and just the 1 home run. So the trend there is quality starting pitching. So all 3 of those games, the pitchers went at least 5 innings. Flaherty and Waino went 6. Very few hits allowed, 3, 2, and 4 hits. Very few earned runs, Flaherty with the most at 4 earned runs. De Leon and Waino with only 1 earned run apiece. Very few walks, 1, 3, and 1. And plenty of strikeouts, 10, 7, and then just 3 from Waino. So we're getting quality starting pitching over this stretch. Now this actually dates back. We've won 5 games in a row. So if you look at the 2 games before that, Michaelis gave us 8 innings pitched on the 20th with only 2 earned runs, and Hudson gave us 5 innings pitched with 3 earned runs on the 21st. So 5 games in a row now with effective quality starting pitching. I'd still personally like to see pitchers going at least 7 innings. So these 5 innings and 6 inning games aren't what I'd like to see, though that does seem to become the norm now in baseball. These shorter starts, and you're relying on your bullpen more. But still, going 5 or 6 innings, getting a quality start is definitely what we need to see from our starters. Now, that has not been the case. If you go back just before this 5-game winning streak, the quality of starting pitching was much less. On the 19th, Waino only went 3 innings pitched, 4 runs, 3 earned runs. On the 17th, Waka did have a good start, 6 innings pitched, only 2 earned runs. And you go back to April 16th, Flaherty only gave us 2 2/3 innings pitched, gave up 5 earned runs. On the 15th, Hudson only gave us 3 2/3 innings pitched, 6 earned runs. Then we did have a couple decent starts in there. Michaelis and Waino on back-to-back on the 13th and 14th gave us 5 innings pitched for Michaelis, 6 innings pitched from Waino, only 3 earned runs for Michaelis, 2 earned runs for Waino. And then you go back just before that, on the 11th, Waka only 3 2/3 innings pitched, 7 earned runs. That was his one big clunker of the year. And then even on the 9th, Dakota Hudson only went 4 2/3 innings pitched. Now, he didn't have any earned runs, but he did throw 100 pitches in less than 5 innings. And, the bullpen kind of had to come in and clean that up. So not a horrible outing, but still, you'd like to see him be a little more efficient and go deeper into games. So we had this long streak there where we weren't really getting quality outings. Even those good ones from Waka, Waino, and Michaelis were only giving us, 6 innings at most in those. So we had this stretch of poor pitching. The bullpen did okay in those games, but definitely what we want to see is what we have seen over the past 5 wins, which is much better quality starting pitching. All right, let's look at the offense a little bit. So we broke this down a little bit last time, and I'm not going to get into quite as many numbers. Well, maybe I am. Not quite as many. I'm just going to look at 4 categories here. So average, on-base percentage, slugging, and weighted runs created plus. So in case you don't know what weighted runs created plus is, I'm going to define it for you here. It's a crazy stat. So basically, it takes the runs created stat, which we can talk about, and adjusts that to account for external factors like the ballpark that you're playing in and the era that you're playing in. So it's an adjusted statistic where 100 is league average and something like, 135 would be 35% above league average, or, 90 would be 10% below league average. So the actual formula is, this is where it gets wordy, weighted runs above average per plate appearance plus league runs per plate appearance, that's in parentheses, plus league runs per plate appearance minus ballpark factor times league runs per plate appearance. That's also in parentheses. All of that divided by league weighted runs created per plate appearance, not including pitchers. All of that times 100. That's weighted runs created plus. Confusing, sounds ridiculous, but basically it's a useful stat because it tries to quantify creating runs, whether that's hitting, base running, knocking in guys, scoring yourself, whatever. It's creating runs, and they try to take all these stats into account and come up with a value for a player. So anything over 100 is over league average, so that's what you want to see. So let's kind of go down and look at what some of our players are doing. Again, I said we're going to talk about average, on-base percentage, and slugging too, kind of that the big 3. So what's a good way to do this? Do we want to go list all 3 of those things per player? Let's start with averages. We're just going to look at average, and this is just for I picked what I considered the top 6 hitters right now on the team. So the lowest average of these top 6 is Marcell Ozuna with 272. Kolten Wong is batting 276. Goldschmidt is batting 281. Dexter Fowler, of all people, is batting 310. Good for him. Paul DeJong, 343, and Jose Martinez, 344. So all of those averages are pretty good, even Kolten Wong at 276. But really what stands out to me is Dexter Fowler at 310. What he was batting early on, the first week or 2 of the season, was just awful. And, he's really done a heck of a job to get that. He's batting over 300. Who would have thought that he could do that? Carp started slow. He's still in that. I think he's batting around 220. Goldschmidt started slow. He's got it up to 281. But for Fowler to have it up to 310 for his average is just crazy. And then DeJong and Martinez leading the way at 343 and 344 is incredible for your batting average. All right, now let's look at on-base percentages. Again, we're going to go with the lower one. So Marcell Ozuna is on base at 366, which is still like a phenomenal on-base percentage. Well, not phenomenal. It's really good on-base percentage. You would take that any day of the week, 366. Goldschmidt, 373. I went out of order here. Jose Martinez is only 359, so just below Ozuna. 359 for Martinez, 366 for Ozuna, 373 for Goldschmidt, 395 for Dexter Fowler. Again, a nearly 400 on-base percentage for Fowler is great. 398 just above him for Paul DeJong, and Kolten Wong, of all people, 417 on-base percentage. Who would have thought? So his average was the lowest of this group, but the highest on base percentage. So he's taking walks, doing his job. So that is incredible to see. All right, slugging percentage. Let's look at this. The lowest slugging percentage out of all these, if you had to predict, if you had to guess, I'll give you a second. Who has the lowest slugging percentage of these 6? Dexter Fowler at 423. So not too surprising. He's not really hitting a lot of home runs, but still, 423 slugging percentage. Martinez with a 443 slugging percentage. So again, these two guys aren't hitting home runs, not really killing the ball for doubles and triples as much as they are getting on base and hitting singles, but still. Martinez with 443. Then we got Colton Wong with 500. Then Goldschmidt at 594. So, now we're talking, getting into these more substantial numbers. And DeYoung at 626. Holy cow. And Ozuna 654. I mean, come on. 654 slugging percentage. DeYoung at 626. Goldschmidt at 594. Great to see some power numbers from these guys. So, the interesting weighted runs created plus statistic. On the low end of this group is Martinez at 114. So not too surprising. He's not hitting the home runs. He's not scoring as much. He's a little slower on the bases. But still, 114 is a good number. It's, 14% above league average. Then we get to Fowler at 124. Again, who would have thought that Fowler would be ahead of Jose Martinez in runs created plus? Then we get to Colton Wong at 141. Goldschmidt at 152, Ozuna 162, and Paul DeYoung 170. Those numbers are insane, incredible for the season. So very good to see these guys hitting the way they are, hitting for average, hitting for power, knocking guys in. Timely hitting is what we've been seeing lately. We talked about that a little bit on the last podcast, where a couple of these games we had, approximately the same number of hits, similar statistics, yet, we had the blowout the one game and then we just barely won the other. It was because we had runners on base, but we were knocking them in the one game and we were leaving them on base in the other. So that's timely hitting, right? So getting a hit when it counts, when it matters. And we've been seeing that lately. So definitely impressive to see the offense getting going, and we hope that continues. Like I said before, there are a few guys who we can still see get even better, like Matt Carpenter wasn't on this list. I do think he's getting better, but he's still got quite a ways to go to get back to what we're used to seeing from Carpenter. And Yadier Molina, he's definitely gotten better. His numbers still aren't quite up there with what we're seeing from these other guys, but he's definitely been contributing more. He had a home run today. He had a couple RBIs last night. He's been getting doubles. He stole third the other day. We're definitely starting to see Yadi be the Yadi that we know, but he's got to do that a little bit more to get those numbers, back to what we expect. So, we're seeing a lot from a lot of people, and we've got a few more significant players who can still improve even more. And we've got guys that we haven't even mentioned. Harrison Bader came back today. He could definitely get things going offensively. And speaking of Bader, that's going to be on, further down on my list of things to discuss, but we'll get to it now. So with Harrison Bader back, what is that going to mean for playing time for our outfield? Right now, our outfield has been stellar. Ozuna, Fowler, Jose Martinez. Would you take any of those guys out of the lineup right now? Heck no, they're the ones leading the way. So with Bader back, you definitely want his defense out there. I would say you'd want his defense over Martinez. Well, you'd want his defense over any of them. If you had to pick one to take out, it would be Jose Martinez. But, how do you take a guy out of a lineup who's leading your team in batting average and is getting on base at a nearly 360 percentage? So, but that being said, he's slugging the least. His wins run created is the least out of that group of 6. So if there was a guy that you'd pull out, maybe it would be Jose Martinez to get Bader some at-bats. And I do think they're going to try to get him at-bats. I don't think they're going to just hand him that starting role back again and he's going to start every day. I think Schilt sees what's happening with the offense and this win streak and knows that he needs to keep riding that as long as he can. But he's not going to, banish Bader to the bench and never see him again. He's going to mix him in and get him some playing time. He got an at-bat today in a pinch hit. So, he's going to get creative with that. I think Schilt was creative with the way he got Lane Thomas some at bats, and even Drew Robinson over these last few games. So he's going to try to get everybody incorporated, keep everybody hot, but you can't sit these outfielders right now. You can't take any of those three out of the lineup for any consistent basis. So that being said, the only other pitcher that I want to talk about, we could get into all the pitchers. The pitchers have been really good. Miller has been the streakiest up and down. He had a really good outing yesterday, and then he wasn't good today. He only went 2/3 of an inning. He loaded the bases, had a couple walks, had a hit batter. They had to take him out for Hicks to come in and get the save. But besides Miller, everybody else has been very, very good in the bullpen. So the one person I wanted to kind of highlight is Jordan Hicks. He's kind of quietly been good, or maybe we take it for granted, or maybe I do. I don't know. But he's essentially our closer now. They've never officially named him the closer, but he is the closer, and he started the season that way. But he's got 7 saves now to 1 blown save. He's faced 39 total batters, and in those 39 batters, he's given up 6 hits and only 3 earned runs. He's got 5 walks and 13 strikeouts. I think it's kind of surprising when you say he's faced 39 batters and only 13 of them have struck out. For a guy that throws, upwards of 104 miles an hour and has some of the filthiest stuff we've ever seen from a pitcher with, 94 mile an hour cutters and sinkers, and he started throwing a changeup now. He's just got the most movement of anything we've ever seen from a reliever, and he's got guys swinging out of their shoes at balls that nearly hit him in the shoes. I mean, it's insane how he keeps these guys guessing, yet he's only got, a strikeout in 1/3 of the batters faced, and 6 hits. That's not a lot, but it is a lot when you see the stuff that he has. It's surprising to see that anybody gets a bat on the ball, but definitely impressive with Hicks. I think he's gotten more control this year. He still could have a little better control. He's effectively wild, I think, sometimes. But he has definitely, entrenched himself as the closer. He seems to be trusted in that role. He got the save today. He came in bases loaded against Yelich and struck him out, so he seems to be able to handle the pressure. He's definitely got the stuff that he can trust. I think that's part of it. Some of these guys don't always trust their stuff, and he knows at this point he should know he can trust his stuff to get big league hitters out. So I just think it's impressive. It's pretty neat. He kind of goes, again, like I said, under the radar a little bit. Some of these other guys had more name recognition, like an Andrew Miller. And I think because we see them more, guys like John Gant and Brebbia are getting more attention, deservedly so. They've been very, very good in the bullpen. But Hicks is quietly being a very effective closer. So excited to see that. We needed it. All right. Just a couple more things to discuss. We do have a weekend series coming up after the Thursday off day. The weekend series against the Reds, who are in last place in the division. They're 5 games back of the Cardinals now. This was as of Wednesday afternoon. There's probably some games going on in the evening that are going to change those standings by a half game or so. But then we hit the road for the Nationals. So that's what we got coming up. Let's go through the standings one more time. So the Cardinals are in first place. So they leapfrogged Pittsburgh into first place with a 15-9 record. Pittsburgh is in second with 12-9 record. So they're a game and a half back. Chicago is in third with an 11-10 record. They are 2.5 games back. Milwaukee, as we said, is in fourth place with 13-13, 3 games back. Who would have thought that they would be 500 after that first couple series against them where they just seemed to manhandle the Cardinals? I was ready to concede the division to the Brewers. But, give the Cardinals credit, and they stuck with it, and Milwaukee has kind of faltered. Now, part of that reasoning is I heard Bernie Miklasz this morning talking about the run differential statistic. And the Cardinals, I believe, were first in the big leagues with plus 30 run differential. And Milwaukee, I believe, was last in the big leagues with a minus 11 run differential. So basically that means the Cardinals have scored 30 more runs than they've allowed, and the Brewers have allowed 11 more runs than they've scored. So the point to take away from that is if you have a good big run differential, you are likely to be a first place caliber team and likely to be able to sustain that. You are scoring significantly more runs than you're giving up. You're going to win games that way. The Brewers managed to be in first place for a while and had this good record, even though their run differential was not very good. They were overall allowing more runs than they were scoring. They just happened to be winning those games where they were scoring, obviously scoring more in those games. But the point of that is that's not likely to be sustainable. You aren't going to be able to continue to be a first place competitive team when your run differential is negative like that. And that's exactly what we've seen. The Cardinals have steadied the course and jumped up higher in the standings and kept their record up there with this good run differential, and the Brewers have dropped back to a 500 team at this point. Now, I don't expect them to stay a 500 team. In fact, they just signed Gio Gonzalez today. I don't think he's necessarily going to be the difference maker, but he's an effective pitcher who will get the job done for them and give them some innings from the left side. But they're going to need to shore up their bullpen, and I'm sure they will. I expect them to make another move to get their bullpen in order. But the Brewers, again, they're not going to stay 500, but they're going to have to make some big changes to get that run differential turned around if they want to compete at the top of the division. I'm getting ahead of myself. It sounds like we're giving the Cardinals the division at this point, but after nearly a month of the season, this is definitely what you want to see. So that being said, we do have 5 games left in the month of April, and if conservatively we win 3 and lose 2, we would be 18-11, or 7 games over 500 for the month of April. I will definitely take that, especially after the first week of the season. The way we looked against Milwaukee, I was just praying to be able to be 500 for the month. So to be it, that's if we go 3-2, which I would expect to be able to do that. Heck, they could sweep. But if we could be 7 or 8 games over 500 by the end of the first month, that would be great. I would take that any day of the week or any month of the year, so to speak. All right, couple more things. Carlos Martinez is going to be used and conditioned as a reliever as of now. So he's expressed a little bit of hesitancy to go longer with his outings, his not bullpen outings, his rehab outings. And basically they've said, he's having trouble maintaining intensity for longer outings. So I think that means physical intensity as opposed to mental intensity. And basically they're just saying, well, okay, if he's comfortable doing this in shorter spurts, then we're going to use him in shorter spurts, and that means as a reliever. Now, where could we use him? We could use an effective starter right now. The rotation's been better lately, but we've got, we had the injury with Wacha. He's coming back next week. Ponce de Leon was very good in his spot start, but I'm not sure that we think we can count on that. Hudson's been kind of hit or miss, not nearly as effective as we'd like to see. I do think he's going to get at least a couple more opportunities, but if you had to say where our place of need is right now on the pitching staff, it would definitely be in the starting rotation as opposed to the bullpen. But that being said, if Martinez is right, he will be an effective reliever, and we could potentially bounce somebody out of the bullpen like a Webb or Gallegos, somebody who's got options and can kind of come and go. So we'll see. I'm not convinced that Martinez is going to be effective yet. I need to see it for quite a while in Memphis before, they deem him healthy. I don't know if that's the route they're going to go, but we'll see. I don't think any of our relievers right now deserve to be demoted, and Martinez doesn't deserve to be promoted at this point. So we'll see how that plays out. Like we said, Wacha missed a little bit of time. He was retroactively put on the IL, the injured list, with knee patellar tendonitis. But apparently it's not too serious, and they expect him to make his next start next Tuesday. So the off day tomorrow kind of shifts things around a little bit, and he will start next Tuesday. That's the plan anyway. And, he's had some very good outings for us, so we definitely want to see Waka back in the rotation. All right, that's about all I have. It's just kind of recapping this sweep of the Brewers, which I know I definitely didn't see it coming a couple weeks ago. After this weekend series against the Mets, I was definitely hopeful that we could take 2 of 3, but to sweep the Brewers, never would have thought. And kind of the best part about it was we held Christian Yelich in check. He was 0 for 7 in the first 2 games, and they decided to give him today off as a break, which sometimes they'll do when a guy has a couple bad games in a row. So not only did we hold him in check enough in the first 2 games, we did it enough to keep him out of the third game. So definitely good to see the pitchers kind of figure out an approach that at least worked for now with Yelich. We'll see how that plays out going forward, but exciting to see the Brewers kind of held in check, put in place, so to speak. The Cardinals kind of put their foot in the ground, so to speak. So excited to see what happens coming up against the last place Reds, and then moving on to the quality Nationals team on the road next week. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, that's all I got for you. I want to thank you for listening, and until next time, I'm Jared, and this is the BFIBs Almanac.